out with me now and again, Gary.
I'm pretty sure I'm on his personal watch list. I've been jailed 11 times.
Hello, guys. Welcome. Come on in. Say hello. In the chat, just change the chat to everyone so you can tell us where you're joining us from today. And then we can get started. So, Gary, tell us, how are things with you?
They are wonderful. I'm actually, May is one of my slowest shooting months out of the year. It's too late for my 23s, too early for my 24s. I am building lots of props and backgrounds and sets. We're building a set right now with about 600 books, an entire wall of books, and many other projects. I'm working on all my marketing, and I'm getting ready to get busy with seniors again. So right after foot surgery on June 5th. So yeah.
So, Gary, I know this webinar is on pixels to profits, right? And talking about numbers, and often photographers, this doesn't excite them, Gary. Like if you're going to do something now on lighting, there'll probably be way more people here. But talk to us about your love of numbers, because you do have a love of numbers, right? Because you have to.
Yes, absolutely. That's kind of what this is all about. You know, I've always said, you know, I should do like an imaging program or something that's, you know, called, you know, boudoir for the next decade. And as soon as everyone gets in, like lock the doors and say, all right, this is a business program. Sorry, I tricked you. Because you're right. People aren't excited over the number part of the business, but they should be. I mean, I'm a math guy, I'm a numbers person, and all this really, really matters. And it is the key to running a successful business. I talk to so many people that are at best probably really vague on what their numbers are. And I take a little bit of a different approach at it, which is what I'll be sharing today, on looking at it on an hourly basis, not just a monthly basis or anything like that. And so I believe it's very, very important to stay on top of all of that. So, you know, it's not just taking pretty pictures if you want to be a successful business.
And that's the key thing, isn't it? Like there's nothing wrong with mastering the art and science of photography like you have done. And if you just want to be an artist and enter print competition out of a business, that's great. That's fine. We've no problem with that. But if you want to turn those pixels into profits, you've got to understand the business aspect.
Absolutely. You know, there's a lot of people that are starving artists, and there's absolutely no need to be. I mean, I want to live in a nice home. I do live in a nice home, you know, and I want to have nice things. And I have a retirement set aside that's rather comfortable. And so I have no interest in being a starving artist. Now, I will say that making our work better makes it a lot easier to sell. You know, it's certainly easier to sell and sell for more if your work is really better. So, you know, I don't forsake the art and the technical side of photography, but, you know, the business side matters as well. It's a three-way balance: art, tech, and business. So we have to be well-versed and balanced in all three of those to really run, you know, a successful business today.
And Gary, with regards to time input into that, like, and setting up your business for success, is it an even balance of time you've done over the years between the art, the science, or the technical bit and the business, or how is that broken down for you?
No, not over the years. I mentioned earlier that for years, the artist half of me and the business half of me fought, and I always let the business half win. And I was doing an incredible volume of business, 1,100 sessions a year. And I never had any fun. Well, now I don't have to work that hard anymore. And so now I sometimes let the artist half win, and that's okay. In fact, I'm happier in my job now that I sometimes get to do things just for the art and the creativity of it. And so, you know, I think that that's an important part of it, but you know, there has to be that balance. So for years, I was much more business oriented, and I'm still more business oriented than probably what most are, but I really like the creativity. I think that I am producing the best quality work of my entire career. And I've been doing this 34 and a half years. I'm doing seniors that I did their mom and dad senior pictures. In fact, This young lady right here, I did her mama's senior pictures, her daddy's senior pictures, and I just did her brother's senior pictures. I've got the whole family. But I do much higher averages now. I mean, I live in Redneckville, Oklahoma, and average over $4,300 on seniors. I routinely get, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 seniors. But in all fairness, I also get $2,000 seniors as well. So I don't ever try to mislead anyone in thinking, oh yes, every senior I do is $5,000. No, I wish, but that's not really the case. I don't think I could maintain the volume of sessions or anywhere close if I only went after the ultra high end. I have to go after the high end and the middle end. I have no interest in the low end. So that's basically, has been my approach for some time. And we believe strongly in the sales part of it, a great deal. So, but we have to keep all three of those in balance, and then there's the tech side as well. So many people are getting eaten alive by their workflow and keeping up with the technology. I mean, Adobe just announced, I just shared their new Firefly AI technology is like, holy wow, that's amazing. So keeping up with all that is a job in itself. So.
And Gary, you mentioned about knowing your ideal client and, the clients that you're going for. The numbers play a role in that too, right? Because you mentioned knowing the sales averages and all that. So is that one of the criteria that you use in identifying the ideal client?
Yes, and I do a lot of things in our marketing and in our pricing structure that filter clients out. We still do direct mail and do quite well with direct mail, but we do very high-end mailings. If you have a $500 budget, you'll look at our mailer and you'll go, yeah, we can't afford to go here. Thank you. Yes, that's correct. That's exactly what I want you to know. And, it's like if you pick up a Breitling watch catalog, you're going to look at it and you're not going to be thinking these are $200 watches. I mean, they start about $5,000. And that's exactly what I want. So I want to attract the good people and repel the bad people. I have other barriers in place too, higher session fees, minimum orders, and things like that help filter the majority of the bad clients out of the pool and let the good ones through. But, I'm also I'm very cautious with people about implementing barriers. If you're struggling to get enough business, you want to be very careful at implementing those barriers that are going to block people away. That's very thin ice that you can put yourself on. In my case, I am not trying to get a lot more business. I'm trying to slow down and refine and just get the better ones. So I have those barriers in place to block people out. Even my time schedule can be a barrier. I do not shoot weekends. If you need a family on a Sunday, okay, but there's a pretty substantial minimum order that's going to hit you first. So all those things are just designed to filter my client pool down to the ones that I want.
And Gary, do you see what I see with a lot of photographers that I work with and mentor and coach is this idea of chasing a high average and sacrificing the quantity of sales? Because you've got to multiply one by the other, right? Getting an average of 10,000 with one client a year is not a business.
No, in fact, I'm just helping someone right now who bought a mentorship. Someone convinced them to double their prices, but and now their schedule is empty because you cannot do that without the established brand value in your market, your ability to market, and your ability to sell. Doing some of that can be very fatal, I believe, to your business. And but I'm always ready to reel in that $10,000 client. I had a $19,703 senior last year. Okay. They couldn't have spent another $297 to make it 20 grand. But anyway, so I'm always ready for that big fish, but not every client is a big fish, and I can't do that. There's a lot of people who tell you how much to charge, and I believe my answer is the correct one. My answer is to charge as much as you possibly can without impeding your ability to move the product in quantity, because moving product is the key to making money. I mean, you could have a $10,000, average or minimum, and if you don't book anybody, you're not making squat. So someone who I jokingly said in my Texas school class a couple of weeks ago that over the past 10 years, I have a $12,000 wedding average. Well, I've only done two. One was 11,000, one was 13,000. So, someone who is doing a $5,000 average, but has done, 100 of them in the past 10 years, has made far more money than I did on weddings. So, yep, you're absolutely right, my friend.
And what do you think drives that, Gary? Is it ego, that this chasing down a 10,000 average or a 15 and sacrificing and saying no to so many clients? What's driving that within the artist?
I think it is ego, and there are a lot of people that are feeding that. Oh, you can do this, you can do this. There's a lot of talk about, know your worth, know your worth. Well, unfortunately, you can think your worth is maybe higher than it actually is. Your worth is not what you think it is. It's what you can convince your market it is. And that's the big difference right there. I could think that, hey, my 8x10s are worth $1,000 each. But if I cannot convince my clients of that, guess what? They're not worth that, period. So I think that people take some of those concepts and oftentimes push them just a little bit too far. So, and that goes back into knowing your numbers. I mean, every hour, which is what I've got a little keynote to share in a moment. Every hour that my doors are open, money is going out the door or down the drain. And I need to know how much that is. And if I'm not keeping busy, then I'm losing money. I'm losing money right now during this webinar. Because I'm not generating income at the moment, but not everything I do is about generating income. So.
All righty. So guys, if you have a question for Gary, just make sure you put it in the chat and make sure you've made it out to everyone, because it'll default to panelists only. So just make sure you've chosen everyone. So Gary, do you want to kickstart with knowing your hourly rate?
I will. I'm gonna share my keynote here with you guys. Share. All right. So hopefully you should see this. This is it's understanding your overhead costs is the title of this segment. So we have a revenue split in our business. We have our cost of goods sold. We have our overhead, and then we have our profits. And I want to briefly talk about each one of those before we dig in too deep. Our overhead is all fixed costs: rent, utility, wages, insurance. If nothing happens today, I still have these bills. I still have to pay the electric bill, even if I have 0 customers today. I still have to pay the rent or payment of the building, all of those things. So that is overhead. Cost of goods is everything that goes out the door with the customer. This not only is your lab bill, but it also includes your packaging, your albums, your frames, everything. If it walks out the door with the client, it is cost of goods sold. So that's another thing. Now, profits are above and beyond your base salary. We've all got an investment in our business. I have a sizable investment. I have a large studio. I have real estate. I have equipment. I have, probably $1 million invested in my studio. If I invested that into something else, it would be earning a profit. And so we should be making profit above and beyond our base salary. So those are the 3 sections of our business. So overhead, fixed costs that happens with or without customers. Okay. And I tell people it's important to not only know these on a monthly basis, which I find a lot of people do, but they really need to know their overhead on an hourly basis. And I find that not very many people actually do that. Why hourly? And the reason we want to know hourly is we can figure our cost on a given job based on the number of hours involved. Is it a headshot that I have about 1 hour involved in? That includes photographing them, picking the images, retouching, everything. Okay, only 1 hour versus a senior that I might have 7 or 8 hours involved in by the time I figure their senior tour, their consultation, photographing them, sales, prepping sales, everything, I may have 7 or 8 hours. If I'm doing a wedding, I may have 40 hours of work into it. So I know how to price each individual job based on the number of anticipated hours. And, you have to look at that as an average of a given job type. I'm going to have more retouch time if I have a senior with a bad complexion than one with a good complexion. So we have to look at it as an overall average on that type of job. So if we take a look at my overhead, so the way I break this down is my rent for my building is $1,500 a month. I live in Oklahoma in a rural town. So some people are going, oh my God, really? Only $1,500 a month? That's the advantage of living in Redneckville. If I take that $1,500 a month, and if I'm open 40 hours a week, and there are 4.2 weeks in every month, that works out to be $8.93 per hour. So every hour my doors are unlocked, I am paying $8.93 per hour for rent. Okay, a pretty easy concept. So now if I start analyzing other costs that we have, and rent would be a rent or a building payment. If you're a home-based business, please do not let me hear the words come out of your mouth, I have no overhead. I will chastise you beyond belief. Yes, you do. If you are home-based, like many people are today, if your business occupies 25% of your home square footage, you can write off 25% of your home mortgage, interest and principal. You can write off 25% of your utilities, all of those. That is still overhead. You still have overhead costs, even if you're home-based, and it's based on the percentage of your square footage. So we also have utilities, and we basically do the same thing. Average utilities for a month divided by 40 hours a week, 4.2 weeks in the month is $5.20 an hour. I have my phone and internet as a separate category personally, which is another $1.35 an hour. That's for phone, internet, cell phone. I have landlines as well as cell phone lines and all of that. So then we have office expense, $5.62 an hour. This includes my Adobe subscription. We have 3 people working. I have 3 Adobe subscriptions. So we have a printer lease, paper, supplies, drinks, cookies, all your office expense. That adds up, to around $1,000 a month. Okay, advertising. I do not do a lot of advertising because I am in maintain or slow down mode of my business. But still, my advertising is $5.45 an hour. If you do direct mail, this is your printing, this is your postage, mall displays, Google ads, Facebook ads. If you're using, funnel software, anything like that, that is all part of your advertising costs. And, for most people, you really probably should be spending a minimum of 5% of your gross on advertising. Okay. And I have so many people complain about, oh, I'm really slow. What are you doing for advertising? Well, not much. You think there might be a correlation between those? Yeah, exactly. Okay. Equipment. This is cameras, lenses, computers, repairs, all of that. And, if you really know me, yes, okay, I'll admit it. I'm a little bit of an equipment whore. My studio looks like Adorama. I have every kind of light made. But we have a monthly expense there. Props and backgrounds. I spend a lot. I just bought a Volkswagen Bug as a background. We just bought like 600 or 700 books. So I'm always spending furniture, everything like that. I spend a lot of money on props, backgrounds, and furniture to build sets. Vehicle. You can look at a vehicle at 2 different ways. You can do, if it's 100% business use, you can do your vehicle cost plus your insurance plus your fuel and write all of that off. Most people use their vehicle for personal and business. And actually, I think I need to update that. I think it's up to about 65 cents a mile on the allowable expense now. And, there are apps for your phone that will actually track your mileage. Every time you go somewhere, it asks you, is this a business trip or is this personal? If you tell it it's a business trip, it will track the number of miles, where you go, when you come back, and it makes tracking that mileage a lot easier. And then If you're paying for your car out of your own pocket, you look at, okay, I spent, $700 in mileage this month. Okay, in addition to your check that you get for your salary, you should be getting a check for your mileage as well. Okay, so a lot of people that work on location, you're racking up those miles, people. You really, really need to be keeping track of that and paying yourself for those. That is not a gift to your business. That is an expense. Insurance. I have building insurance. I have liability insurance on my business, equipment insurance policy, health insurance, all of that adds up. Education. We all have, if you're a member of PPA or your state association or SYNC, any of those associations, if you go to Imaging USA, which you should, you have travel, all of your travel, your hotel, your meals, all of that all goes into education. And you should be investing in your own education. Even at the level that I'm at, I try to take at least one workshop a year. Maybe it's a Kimberly Smith painting workshop or something like that. I'm always trying to push myself. I know a lot, but I don't know it all. And I'm trying to get there. So education is an important aspect of what we do as well. Okay. Labor. Now, labor is your employees. So I've actually changed. I no longer have 3 full-time. I have 2 full-time and 2 part-time employees. So I've got about $25 an hour on base labor going out to them. Well, one of them's not even full-time really, but then I have my owner salary. That's a separate category. Now, my base salary is honestly rather modest. I'm a very open book to people. My base salary is $60,000 a year, and it's kept low for tax reasons. I'm a sub-S corporation, and that's a whole other conversation of at what point do you want to incorporate. If you are netting $100,000 or more, it is probably wise for you to be incorporated for tax reasons. Because if you're making $100,000, you're paying Social Security and Medicare 15.3% on all of that. Well, Social Security and Medicare is only taxed on wages. So if I pay my salary of $60,000, that's all I pay that 15.3% on. And then I take $40,000 as profit. So I still have to pay income tax on it, but I don't have to pay the 15.3% of Social Security and Medicare. So talk to your accountant about that. I'm not an accountant. I need one. Okay. So, but we have our base, my base salary is a factor in that. Okay. We have taxes, the employer FICA share. I have to pay half of their Social Security and Medicare. We have property tax, personal property tax, all of that. So unfortunately, I have to pay taxes. Miscellaneous, another $5.95 an hour. I don't really need to break down miscellaneous. We all understand what that means. So all these are expenses that hit me pretty much no matter what. So if I break all these down, you're welcome to screen capture that if you want to, because those are your different categories. If I break all that down and add it up, my overhead is about $120 per hour to unlock my doors. $120 per hour to unlock my door. So an hour for this webinar, I still have $120 of overhead. Okay. So let's look at how that plays out into, let's talk about a small portrait order. I have a portrait order of $500. If I deduct my cost of goods, $125 out of that, which is about 24%. If I take out 2.5 hours that I have to spend with that client, that's about $300 in overhead. So my profit for that job is $75. That's it. That's all the profit there is in that $500 job is $75. Now, the next slide is the one that makes people think, oh, crap. If that job takes me another hour of overhead, if I have to spend 3.5 hours on it, I deduct another $120. That job just lost $45. That's got to come from somewhere, people. And sadly, the way most people structure their business, and I think Ronan will talk more about this in Profit First, sadly, what happens is it usually comes out of our own pocket. So your salary that was in that $500 just got wiped out. You just did all that work for nothing. This right here is why most businesses fail. I don't care whether you're manufacturing beautiful, high quality image boxes from Ireland, or if you have a plug, or if you have a boutique shoe shop or a coffee shop or whatever. If this screen is not in balance, you're losing money. And this is exactly why most businesses fail. They don't get this one screen right here. What you're seeing on your screen right now is more valuable than a lot of business college educations. Okay. And that's reality. I do want to address one thing. I want to talk about the difference between a larger studio like myself versus a single person comparison. A lot of times people think, oh, well, I have a smaller operation. I don't have that much overhead, so I don't have to charge as much. There's a major flaw in that thinking, and I want to make sure that you're aware of it. So in my case, with a larger studio with multiple persons, I might be photographing a session. Matt might be doing retouching or laying out an album. Judy is doing sales all at the same time. Sydney might be delivering an order. So we have multiple things happening at once. Trying to split up that overhead between sometimes 2 jobs, sometimes 3, sometimes 4 is pretty challenging. So I bill my hours of overhead to the camera room. Okay. So if I spend 3 hours in the camera room or 3 hours of my time, that's what I calculated on. If you are a smaller person or smaller operation, single person, you have to do the sales. You have to do the session. You have to do the retouching. You have to do all of these things. They add together. So although your cost of overhead, it's like, okay, well, I figured my overhead's only $50 an hour. Thank God it's not 120 like Gary's. Well, let's look at that. If I spend 1 hour in the camera room, half an hour of prep, that's $180 in overhead that I have to spend because everything else is taken care of by another employee. If you're a single person, you have 1 hour in the camera room. Well, that's only $50 an hour, but then you have half an hour of prep. You have to do the 1 hour of sales. You have to do the 1 hour production. Your overhead is $175. It's almost as much as mine. So if you're thinking, oh, I don't have to charge as much because I don't have as much overhead as Gary Box does, it's a very flawed method of thinking. Because yes, you do, because you're spending more hours on a client than I am. And that's the big difference right there. So this is kind of why I preach this. I do have a spreadsheet that you can download. It's on gumroad.com/GaryBox. And you can go there and you can download it. Gumroad doesn't allow a free download, but you can put $1 in. It's a donate box, and you can download a spreadsheet that will actually help you put in like your monthly costs, and it will help break it down for you into an hourly business. So I encourage you go check that out. Not to make me money. Like I said, give me $1 if you want. I don't care. But it will help you calculate your numbers and know your business. Okay. All right. So let's see. I should be off of screen sharing now. All right. And we've got a couple of questions.
We do. And before we take those questions, Gary, just a quick question from me. So with regards the hourly rate, right? So once you know your hourly rate, how do you use that in a scenario like when you're pricing a job, or what role does it play in that?
Okay. So we want to take, and oh boy, we have to do math. If we look at a job, like let's take my smallest senior session. Okay. It's my mama made me do this session. So I look and I figure how many hours is that going to take? Okay. And that gives me then I can times my hourly rate. I now know how much my overhead cost is. And then I figure out what is my average cost of goods in dollars. And that gives me a break-even point. So if my break-even point is, $800, I better be charging over $800 if I want to make a profit. Now, in my case, I need, for every hour in my camera room, I need a minimum of $500. minimum, bare minimum. So if I have a 3-hour session, if I have less than a $1,500 order, I am literally losing money. And so that gives me a target of what I need to know and what I need to make. But if you have no clue what your overhead is, you're just guessing. It's a shot in the dark. I don't know how much I need to charge for this. It's more than just cost analysis, like, oh, I need to take my price from the lab and multiply it times 5. No, it's not that simple, because you have to factor in your time as well. So you have overhead plus cost of goods plus profit. That's how much you need to charge right there. So that's why I preach that it's important to know it in an hourly basis.
Excellent. So let's go have a look at some of the questions. So Kevin,
Okay.
I'm not sure whether it is related to these numbers or not, but let's just talk about it anyway, because I know you have a lot to add on this. So we struggle with creating collections packages for years. We have just custom created our collections. Now I want to offer some higher end collections and I don't know what the minimum should be, how many to offer, etc. Help. Currently our minimum is a $499 collection, not including session fees.
Okay. If you followed me in my pricing philosophy, over 20 years ago, I came up with the creative package concept where they have to buy at least one thing from each step: wall art, album or folio box, and small stuff. And that gives them the best price. Well, here's the problem with packages is most of the time when I talk to people, I say, what is your smallest package? Well, my smallest package is $499. What is your largest package? My largest package is $17.99. And I look at them and I say, nobody spends less than $499, do they? Nope. Nobody spends more than $17.99, do they? No, not really. And so the problem with packages is you create a floor and you create a ceiling. Packages are psychological. Once they have bought the package, well, I bought the package, that's everything I should need. They don't have that drive to buy more. And that's the problem. Versus like with the creative package, each step is open-ended. You have to buy something from step 1, that's wall art. You could buy a single 12 by 18, but most of what I sell, I'm in my sales room right now, most of what I sell are groupings of wall art. So step 1 could be just a single 12 by 18, or step 1 could be a collection of 3 30 by 40 acrylics. There's no limit. Step 2 is an album. We have our base, I call it my bottom feeder album, that nobody buys. But again, we can get into albums and they can add more images, and they can add the folio boxes and add the bigger folio boxes and everything like that. So the practical limit is very high. I mean, we had, I think at least 3 senior albums this year that the album alone was in between $4,000 and $5,000. Okay. So there's not much of an upper limit there. And then step 3. So people say, how do you get a $6,000 senior if they could buy everything on my price list and it wouldn't be $6,000? Well, you need a new price list. You need higher end premium products, first of all. And so that's kind of my philosophy. Now, and more direct, if you want to do something that's a higher end, you can say, it starts at this particular product. Okay. Like, let's say you wanted to do a Photoshop painted series. Well, those are only available in 20 by 30 and up. Okay. And that way you start limiting, they can't do the lower end. And the nice thing is you're not really putting a dollar amount on it, as this is what we expect you to buy. Okay. And that makes a big difference. Like the albums that we sell, the base album has a small number of images, and then they pay per image above and above and above. And with our selling techniques, I mean, their base album might only have 18 images, but yet my average album is about 38 images that we sell. So they're paying a lot extra, and they're paying in almost every case more than double the base rate. So I think I kind of answered that.
Yes. Yes, you have. You have.
Okay.
Mia asks about add mileage costs to the final cost of the client. So I think she's asking, what if she charges the mileage to the client?
You certainly could. And I do that if it's like a long distance. Like if I have to drive an hour away, which I do at times, I will charge them additional for mileage. But on a normal client, I don't if they're close by. I already have that factored into my time. There's already cost in there. It's built into my overhead. So I don't really need to charge them more unless it's, a long distance. It's like, oh, I got to drive an hour and a half for this one to go to a special place. Yeah, I'm going to charge extra, because not only do I have my mileage cost for that hour and a half, I have to drive it. I have time for that as well.
Yes. And you have to drive it back too, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So, and that's where you would take your hourly rate, right? To figure out what you need to charge them.
Yep. Yeah. If I have to drive an hour away, ideally that's an hour away and an hour back. Ideally you should be charging $240. I don't typically charge that full amount. I can absorb most of it into their order, but I will implement minimum orders if I have to go a distance as well, because since I'm not charging $240 for that, I need you to make sure you buy enough that I can buffer that in and still come out ahead.
And you mentioned about marketing and advertising costs, the hourly rate has a role there too, Gary, right? Because I see a lot of photographers say, well, I don't want to spend money on Facebook advertising or whatever, because I'm going to go to a car boot sale or a fair or a charity auction. And you say, well, how much time are you putting into that? And they don't calculate that as part of marketing spend, but it is, right?
Or social media time. Oh my God. This thing, if I could live without this thing, I would. Your social media time, if you have a smaller operation, maybe your overhead is $50 an hour and you spend 2 hours a day, on social media marketing and doing all this, boom, you just spent $100 today on marketing people. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a key thing.
Yep.
Jose, I think it is, wants to know, do you sell any digital format?
Personally, I do not, with the exception of business headshots. I am a print-based photographer, and I'm pretty solid on that. Now, everything that they buy, every image that they put in their image box or an album or anything like that, we give them at our bonus level, which most people will hit. They will get a low-res phone digital of every image that they buy. So if she has 20 images in an image box, she would get all 20 of them for her phone, but they are low res. I do not sell, go print it yourself digitals. That's just not my thing. I don't really have an interest in it. If you do, fine, that's great. More power to you. It's not what I'm about. I am about stuff hanging on your wall that's going to be seen for the next generation. That's what I'm here for.
Great stuff. So, okay, so we've more questions. For seniors, you have the creator package. Do you offer a la carte as well?
I do. And the a la carte prices are significantly higher. I have my 3 steps: wall art, album folio, or prints. If you're like, I don't want to buy an album or folio. Okay, then you're in the a la carte prices, which the a la carte prices are at least 25% more, and they lose a lot of perks, like their digitals for their phone. Those go away. With my gift prints, if they buy 5, they get 1 free. If they buy 9, they get 2 free. If they buy 12, they get 3 free. So those perks go away as well when you're in a la carte. It's just like, it's $129 for a gift print, period. No exception. So we have very, very few clients that go that route, because they're going to lose all their perks and pay a whole lot more.
So Celia wants to know what specs are low res. I presume she's looking, is that a pixel size, Gary, or what is that?
Probably. I think they're 1,500 pixels, I think, is the size that we do, which is reasonable. It has our logo on them, and I use Safer Web at a quality of 60. So they're not bad. To be perfectly honest, they would print a beautiful 5x7. But if you're attracting the right client, like I'm trying to do, and if we do our job in the sales room like we should, they're probably not going to do that. A lot of people is like, oh, I need one more 5x7 for Aunt Susan. So they'll try to go to Walgreens and print it. Well, if you had done your job in the sales room and sold them a 5x7 for Aunt Susan, you wouldn't be in this position right now. So, so that's the way that I look at it. So
Jeff wants to know who does your albums. That's ACI, right?
ACI Ravelli albums exclusively. I am a fanboy of them. And of course, I will also plug the only image boxes we sell are 3XN. No other choices. I used to use another company that was not 3XN many years ago. And I can tell you, here's the thing that shocks me. I get my image boxes faster from Ireland than I got them from in the United States, and they are far better quality. So I'm also a 3XN fanboy.
All righty. And Mia says, I may be missing something. Can you explain the third tier in a bit more detail?
Sure. Wall art. It can be a single image or a grouping of wall pieces. That's step one. Step two is either going to be an album or a folio box, one of the two. All right. And then step three would be everything else. 8x10s, 5x7s, metal prints, curved metals, gallery shelf blocks. That's a metal on each side, basically your small stuff. And the price on all of those is going to be significantly better inside the creative package than not. Like a gift print, 8x10 or 5x7, and my a la carte price is $129. But if they're doing it in the creative package, it's going to be $99 or $89. So there's a significant savings to doing the creative package.
So Gary, just so everyone who's not familiar with this, so they can choose any number of wall art. This is why you don't have a cap, right? Any amount of wall art, any amount of an album or folio box or both. And exactly. They can buy gift prints and the acrylics and all that other stuff that are desk products effectively.
Yes. So each step is open-ended.
And when they buy something from all three steps that are open-ended, then that's when the social media digital files come into play. And they're also cheaper to buy those and just buy wall art from your a la carte.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, it's very effective. There's a lot of photographers that have been using this for years. In fact, there's a lot of photographers that sell my system now with their own little twist on it. But I started it 21 or 22 years ago. I started this pricing approach, and I have found it to be very, very profitable.
All righty. Oh, people are saying, thank you. Gosh, so much better sales plan.
Yeah, I like the money part of what we do. So yeah. Someone's asking about pricing. So like my albums, I have 4 different sizes. There's a base price with a small minimum number of images. And then it's like $59 per image after that. Don't sell spreads, don't sell pages, sell images. And so if you're putting 4 images on a spread, that would be 4 times 59. And the way that I sell them, seriously, every person should take my album sales class. It will blow your mind at the difference it's made. I've had so many people tell me, oh my God, my average album instantly went up $400. And so you really should do that. And so, and another thing that I do that's a little unique too, I'll just throw this out there as a teaser that you can dig more into, is we do boomerang sessions. And what happens when you throw a boomerang? It comes back. My seniors keep coming back all year round, giving me more and more and more money. So they might start with their base album at like $2,000, and then they come back and they do a boomerang session and they drop another 600 on it. And then they come back and they do another boomerang session. So they come back and they do cap and gown and prom dress and all these other things. And each time they're dropping another $400, $500, $600 for a 30-minute little mini session. And the next thing you know, mama has spent, $4,700 on this album, and she doesn't even realize it because she's done it in little bitty pieces. So yeah, if you follow me on the senior platform, you really, really want to start doing these boomerang sessions. They are gold. And most of these are 30-minute mini sessions during my slow time of year. So if they come in and they only spend $500, you know what? I'm really good with that for 30 minutes in my slow time of year. So the session fee is minimal, $49 in studio, $69 outside, 30 minutes, 2 outfits. And it's a wonderful program. So yeah, get with me and you can learn a little bit more about that. All right.
All right. So Wendy is, you've already talked about session fees. Jerry's asking about a past wedding client wanting to view images that was from a wedding 10 years ago.
Okay. We don't get a lot of that. I have every negative and digital file I've sold since 1989 in storage, every single one. The number one time I have to go back to really old stuff is when people die. And most of the time, especially if they were a good client, I don't even have the heart to charge them for it. But they are so appreciative that I have them and I can take care of that. So, if otherwise, if I have to go back and pull something old, they're going to pay current prices for it. We just had someone that, 8 years ago, I think it was, a senior that mom was in a bad financial position and they never paid for their order. They never got their pictures. And she came back and she's in a much better position now and she still wants them. And yes, ma'am, I can do that for you, but it was at current prices, not the 8 year ago price that she had looked at back then. So yeah, I keep and hang on to those, but anything, and I don't really have a minimum. I mean, it's relatively easy to pull those. They're all filed by number, and I can lay my hands on any negative or digital file in a matter of minutes. So Mia asked for a link to follow. You can contact me through, I have a Facebook group that we're streaming in right now. That's amazing. It's much more than just me. It's an amazing community. It's called Inside the Box Photo Group. And so you can follow me there. I also do have an online educational platform. It's universityofbox.com. You can do a monthly or annual membership, and there's a lot of one-on-one interaction there, as well as courses that you can take. So that would be a great source for you to go.
Excellent. Suzanne says she clearly needs to have a better filing system so she can find older files. That's okay. A webinar all on its own, Gary.
And Adele asks about working on the small things. What are the best sellers? Without overwhelming 50 things. Oh yes, you don't want to get too carried away. Obviously, small prints, 8x10s, 5x7 are the number one thing that we sell. We still sell a few wallets, but nothing like we used to. And then the other thing that we sell a lot of are metals. We sell quite a few of the curved metal prints from ACI, those and the flat metals as well. And then the other thing is we have these are called gallery shelf metals. It's a metal on each side with a wooden frame in between. This is a very nice premium product because this is $300 and some odd. So, but it's really nice. You can put it up and you got this side and then you got this side. You get tired of looking at this kid, you can look at this kid. So and that's the bulk of what's in my within my step. I have a couple of other things I call trinket things that are optional beyond that. But what's in the step, the core is just basically 8x10s, 5x7s, and small metals. That's the bulk of it right there.
Julie, the metals come from ACI.
Yes. Yeah. Almost everything I do is ACI. I'm a massive fanboy. American Color Imaging, ACIlab.com is their website, and they are quite phenomenal. So yes, we sell grad cards as well. That's typically later in the year, which we just got finished with grad card season, and that's another add-on later in the year that they can do. So I don't sell them initially. I sell them as add-ons. We also sell a lot of frames. Guys, I told everyone this. If you're not framing your metals, start. Metals framed are gorgeous. Whenever we started framing metals, our metal sales went up 3.8 times. So trust me, start selling your metals. Now, not only are you selling a finish upgrade, but you're also selling a frame. So you're kind of double dipping. One other thing I'll throw in about the finish upgrade. I'm pretty firmly convinced that nobody today is capable of math. And as a math nerd, that's just horribly disturbing to me. But I'm serious. And I really realized this a few years ago. I started doing the sports banners and I told them they were $100 a piece. And they're like, oh, okay, I'll have to think about that. And then I'm like, ugh. So I started telling them, well, they're $65 to print and I charge $35 a kid to shoot and retouch them. Oh, that's not bad. That's still $100. So one of the things I do on my wall art, and it just blows my mind, is I have a base price, which is a photo print mounted on Centra board, luster coating. And then if they want to upgrade it to metal, I don't have a price for metal print. It's $129 upgrade, or depending upon size. And so people don't do the math. They don't add that together. So they're not seeing the big numbers that scared them until they've fallen in love with the concept and the image. So that's another thing too, is like this is $429 in a base image. You can add it, upgrade it to metal for $119 or $129. You can upgrade it to canvas for $189. You can upgrade it to acrylic for $319. So nobody adds the numbers together. Nobody's capable of math, and I'm okay with that. It works to my advantage. Okay.
There we go. I was going to talk about profit first, Gary, but we have so many questions for you, and it's much more interesting hearing from you than I.
No, profit first is important as well. So if we can't get to it today, I'm sorry I ate up all the time.
No, not at all. I'm sure we can do a quick overview quickly of profit first. So for those of you,
absolutely, I'll shut up.
There's a lot of Funny Book photographer members on. I can see with the names. But just briefly for those who aren't. So profit first is a system by Mike Michalowicz, and why I love it is that it's based on human behavior. So I trained as an accountant. I didn't finish that. I bought companies. I've sold companies. I know my way around balance sheets and P&Ls and cash flow statements. But this makes it simple. So we use this in our business, despite having all that knowledge and having accountants and all working in our business, because it allows you to know exactly what's happening in your business and make sure that you get paid from your business. Gary, there's something that a lot of photographers don't realize, that their business should pay them. And that was all in your numbers too. It's a key thing. So we've created a little calculator too, just to help you start with some base numbers and understand what it translates to. Because I talk to a lot of photographers and they say, right, so if I want to pay myself $50,000, I need to have sales of $50,000. No, you don't, as you have seen from Gary's figures. So let me just share my screen just for 2 seconds, and we'll briefly run through this calculator that I think helps make it really, really easy to figure out. So this is the calculator I use to say, right, so we go forward a year and you're looking back at your business. What would success look like for you, for your business to pay you, right? That's an interesting principle, that your business is going to pay you, because you wouldn't work for anyone else for free, right? So whatever that number is, in profit first, we call it owner's pay, and it's net of tax, because there's another key principle: your business should pay your tax bill for you. And you can see with Gary and his numbers, when he built out that hourly rate, he was accounting for that in there. So let's just take any number. We'll take a number, Gary. We'll take a number of 40,000, right? So 40,000, I want the business to pay me net of tax. Your cost of goods, right? So Gary's already talked to that as to what that might be. So let's just use a figure of 20% to keep the numbers easy for me. And the next piece then is every business is set up to serve a number of clients per year, right? So we all know photography is about serving our clients, to transforming their lives, whatever that might be. So I'm going to just put 2 clients per week in here, right? So by putting in those numbers, it translates it into profit first best practice, right? So to earn 40,000 net of tax from your business with a cost of goods of 20%, you need to be doing 100,000 revenue. That's where we need to aim for, which is going to give you 4,000 net profit. So net profit is what's left over after you've paid yourself, after you've looked after all your operational expenses, after you've paid your tax bill for you. And Profit First works on an old system like our grandparents, our parents, or great-grandparents used to use, which was the envelope system. So when the wages were brought home every week, the wages were divided up into, there's my rent and it goes into that envelope, and there's the food and there's the clothes and there's the vacation and there's all the envelopes. And it works in the same principle that twice a month when the revenue comes in on a monthly basis, we're dividing it into various bank accounts. That's a really simple system to operate. And with fintech now, with so many financial apps allowing you to have multiple bank accounts at no additional cost, it makes this really, really simple to do. And what it does is it takes away temptation. So we talked about human behavior, is that often if the money's in the bank account, unless you're very disciplined like Gary, you might be tempted to spend money that you need to pay your tax bill. So people who do Profit First celebrate paying their tax bill. I know I know we all try to pay as little tax as possible, legally, of course, but they celebrate paying their tax bill because they're not trying to find the money at the end of the year when the tax bill is due, right? It's in the tax account and you haven't spent it because you put it into your tax account. So this is why I believe Profit First is a really great way to plan for your business. It also then, Gary talked about, taking what your marketing percentage of sales should be, right? So a lot of photographers I talk to say, really, I need a marketing budget. And Gary talked about a figure around 5%. So depending on the reason why Gary uses 5% is that Gary is an established business. He's an established brand in his locality. He talked about an album where he did the parents of this year's high school seniors, a girl and her brother, right? So when you've got that brand awareness in your community, you have to spend less on marketing, but he still spends 5%, right? So for all businesses of the world, not just photography businesses, typically the range is between 4% and 10% of revenue. So in calculating these figures, right, what I've done is I've taken, if this photographer wants to have 80 clients per year, right, they need to have 89 bookings, because there's this thing that we called movement rate. That is, no matter how good we are, sometimes we end up with a client who doesn't spend what we need them to spend, right? Or somebody gets sick and they cancel, or just life gets in the way, right? And that can vary depending on the type of client that you serve. But we build it in here to say, right, well, let's say we see an average movement rate across all of our clients of 10%. So if we were just going for 80 bookings, right, we wouldn't deliver on our numbers. So we put in here then a 10% movement rate. I need to aim for 89 bookings from my marketing, right, to end up with 80 sales. So what does that mean? Well, typically, when you're generating leads, you will convert somewhere between 20 and 25% of all the leads gathered into a booking. So on the basis of a 20%, because I'm conservative with these, it's better to allow more rather than have less and then get cut out. So on this basis, we need 444 leads from our marketing to have 89 bookings, to have 80 sales at an average of $12.50 to deliver these numbers. So that's how Profit First helps you to figure out where you're going. So where does your marketing budget come from and where does it sit? So on this basis, right, the average cost per booking is $90. So that means $90 by 89 bookings is 8,000, by sales is 8,000. So this comes out of your operational expenses and Profit First. So it's sitting in here. So that's a quick, fast, and dirty look at Profit First. But I can promise you this, the photographers who implement Profit First, because it's really easy to do and it's simple to follow, that if you implement Profit First along with what Gary has just taught you, you will have the money to pay your tax bill. You will pay yourself as a business owner. You will keep track of it, not just weekly, but daily. What have you earned today in your hourly rate by the work you've done? You won't get lost in social media. You won't get lost in over editing. You won't get lost in all those things. You will literally get paid not only what you desire, but what you deserve for the vital job you do. That was a quick one, Gary.
Yes, very good information. And I absolutely agree. Everyone should buy the book or the audio book, Profit First by Michael Michalowicz. And actually just buy every dang book he has written, The Pumpkin Plan, The Toilet Paper Entrepreneur, Clockwork. I mean, and the man is an amazing speaker. He's an amazing author, and I love he narrates his own audiobooks. I do not sit still very well. That might come as a shock. But so sitting and reading a physical book is rather challenging for me. So I do a lot of audiobooks, and I just love his energy and how he narrates his books and everything. Such an amazing human being. So absolutely buy the book, read it, and buy all of his other books as well.
So Rebecca
was asking about where they can get your spreadsheet.
Yeah, sure. So Gary shared a link in his group underneath where we posted about this webinar, linked to the 30-day get fully booked in 30 days program, which is literally is just going to cost you some time. You know your hourly rate though from Gary, it's going to cost you some time to implement a full marketing plan in your business to generate the leads and the bookings that you desire. And part of that program is we go through this calculator in greater detail and make that available to you. So if you haven't yet signed up, so we're currently running a 30-day challenge. The other one will start very, very soon. So the link that Gary has shared will allow you to go on the wait list for the next group, which will be starting sometime in June.
Yep. I did that three or so years ago. Guys, there's some amazing stuff in there. So many people say, oh, I'm really bad at marketing. Okay. So follow the pathway that others have paved for you. And it's not that hard. So I put the link inside the chats. Oh, wait, I think I might've put that to hosts and panelists. I want it to go to everyone. It won't let me do everyone.
All right. Okay. Let me go and get it. I'll go and get it now.
Thank you, sir.
So you just take some, if there's any more questions you have for Gary, do that while I go and find this.
Zoom is a tricky beast. Yes, it is. I posted the link in the webinar chat, Ronan.
You got it? Okay.
Yep. Well, but it went only to host and panelists.
Okay.
So I don't think it went to everyone.
Okay, I don't know why that is. So let's try this one. This is your link. Let me see. All righty, so you should have it there now. Hopefully you've all got it.
Yeah, I'm a very big fan of this program, guys. So and someone asked, I must get some of what Gary is drinking. It's a zero monster. Yeah, so I do tend to be pretty energetic. I'm rather hard to keep up with if you actually know me. I can work circles around people half my age. So even with a bad foot, I'm still outrunning people. So
and you have a true passion, Gary, for helping photographers. So
absolutely. I was so amazingly blessed by people helping me whenever I got started. I had some photographers, Les Peterson taught me, one of the lessons he taught me at the very beginning is it's always better to apologize for price than to apologize for quality. And so I'm very much a pay it forward person. I have a very large passion at helping people. I'm not a speaker who preaches or who teaches for money. In fact, I sometimes get criticized for that. I was called the shoot and burner of the education world a couple of years ago by another speaker because I do so much for free. But you know what? I make enough money from photography. I'm not out to make money from photographers. And that's just my approach. I love people and I love seeing them succeed. If you've ever studied with me, you absolutely know that. So, and I appreciate all of you guys being here. And I hope what I share and I know what Ronan shares can help better your business and better your lives as well.
So Gary, we've just gone $6 over into your hourly rate because it's 3 minutes past the hour. So,
all right.
So
thank you for having me and letting me share with people through your platform, Ronan. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Gary. And thank you for we work together in these things because we both have the same heart for industry, and we want photographers to succeed. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you so much, Gary, again. We'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.